So, like most of America, I went to go see Suicide Squad this weekend, and like most of America, I was disappointed in it. And really, in my case, I enjoyed it, but there was so much wasted potential. So, here's my thoughts on what could have been a better Suicide Squad movie. After watching Suicide Squad, I found myself thinking, this could have been really good. They had the right cast with the right characters, I think even the right director, but they had the wrong plot, and they didn't have enough build-up for this movie. They have to spend so much time setting up the characters, and they have so many characters to introduce, we don't get to know all of them well enough, and then we get involved in a plot that wasn't really what most of us wanted it to be. And the villain in it turned out to be a witch, which we weren't wanting. And then her minions that were like the cannon fodder to be killed off were like putties from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And so overall, this was a very strange package of, I really like the characters, I like the general premise, but I don't like the execution. And the movie found itself kind of in a weird spot because it was supposed to kind of be the Dirty Dozen with villains, but then it also presented it as they wanted like an army of metahuman supervillains against metahuman bad guys. But then when you look at who they brought together, they had a guy with a boomerang, a crazy clown woman, a guy that climbed really well. And you look at that and you go, you can't use that to battle metahuman villains. That's not what you really proposed in the movie. So they needed to find a better villain that made sense for these people to be battling them, that their skill sets would actually be useful against this group of people. And most of us would say the best villains are the villains that don't think that they're the villain. They think they're the good guy doing something right. So what if the movie, instead of having one bad villain their plot is silly, we had three villains that we understand where all three of them are coming from. The first villain is Ra's al Ghul, or someone functioning in that same role, who is out there trying to stop what LexCorp was doing and what Amanda Waller is doing with the government stuff that's ruining the environment. It's cynical. It's trying to stop a hero that's trying to stop evil in the world. And so he's just trying to wipe out this corrupt, cynical version of humanity that's ruining Earth. And then the second villain is Amanda Waller, who's manipulating people and doing evil things, and she's got shady stuff that she's into that needs to be stopped. The third villain is Batman. Not because Batman is doing something evil, it's because Batman's trying to stop bad guys who are members of the Suicide Squad that are back on the street. And so he's doing a good thing, but in the context of the movie, he's doing a bad thing because he's putting their lives in danger, and he's almost stopping the mission that they're doing that's trying to stop Ra's al Ghul. So you have three villains, all of them who think that they're doing something good, and they think they're the hero, not the villain. So here's the movie that I propose. As setup for this movie, I think what they needed to do is put hints of this movie a little bit more in Batman v Superman and perhaps change that movie a little bit. So in that movie, put Amanda Waller in it. Have her kind of working with Lex a little bit. She's not a main character. She's just kind of one of these government people that you see Lex interacting with in a small way that you can see that she's up to something, but she's just in the works. She's not a main point in this movie. And then you give her a post-credit scene that's establishing she's trying to put something together to stop this type of thing from happening ever again. Likewise, when you see Batman in action in Batman v Superman, have him capture a member of the Suicide Squad. This is a lived-in world where these villains were out there during the course of that movie, and we see Batman in action in that movie. So have kind of the little small capers that he's involved in, have one of those people be a part of it that gets arrested, so we don't have to establish them in the movie Suicide Squad. Likewise, before we get to Suicide Squad, probably would have been wise to do a Batman movie first, where you introduce one or two even more of these characters and have Harley Quinn be arrested in that movie, get her backstory in that movie perhaps, and so by the time we get to Suicide Squad, we don't have to spend 15-20 minutes of the movie establishing who she is and her backstory. We already know. We already know she's dangerous. That brings us to Suicide Squad itself. For this movie, we need to have a perspective, because the movie as it is, there's too many perspectives. It's jumping all around. It's a group movie, but it's very clustered, so there's no perspective to follow. So perhaps make Deadshot the perspective we're following. We're the guy that we're following through this journey. And not that every scene's from his perspective, but generally the journey we're on is from his perspective. So the movie starts off with him being arrested by Batman, putting him in Batman in the story, but kind of as this antagonist to the character that we're following, that we emotionally are connected to. Batman is stopping him from accomplishing what we want in for this character. And so then from there, the movie kind of picks up where the movie as is picks up, where we introduce the people and we pull them together, except we don't need quite as much backstory and quite as many characters getting time because we've established them in previous movies. We just get a little bit of them right here. So then as the movie progresses, they have a test mission they're sent on to see if this idea will work, but it's just a test mission. They don't know that. They think they're going out there to do something. You have Amanda Waller watching it. You can see how manipulative she is. And she has a test mission where people die, but it proves these people can be sent in to do something. They'll get it done because of their skill set. Then the real plot of the movie picks up. And it picks up, and I'm going to go with Ra's al Ghul as the villain. Now, the problem with this, of course, is that he was used so thoroughly in the Nolan film. So perhaps he's not the right character, but his function in this, the way his character will play out, there might be someone else to put in his place, but Ra's fits in pretty nicely because we can understand where I'm coming from. So he has a plot that's to take out Gotham and Metropolis, or one of the two, because of what happened in the previous two films, or previous three films, where the world is becoming so dangerous to itself that they have Lex Luthor, this rich billionaire, creating a monster to stop a superhuman, and the human race in these cities has become so toxic to itself that they're fighting against their own heroes. They're creating monsters. They're promoting people like Lex up into extreme wealth. Ra's al Ghul wants to take down the infrastructure that is in these two cities. He wants to take down Wayne Corps. He wants to take down LexCorp, and he wants to stop the military-industrial complex because Amanda Waller's still got stuff she's working on apart from Suicide Squad to try and stop any future alien invasions, and she's into all kinds of shady stuff in this. And Ra's al Ghul just wants to take down all of this corruption and evil because it's polluting the planet Earth, and he wants a better form of human than these monsters that would create monsters and team up with villains, as we'll talk about later in the story. So in our third act, they go in and they're successful in stopping a little bit of what's going on in these cities, and maybe they save Metropolis in the third act of it. And I'm talking about a 5-act structure. So part 1, we introduce the characters. Part 2, they have the test mission. Part 3, they're successful in going into saving one of the cities. That leads to part 4, however, where they go in to stop the main problem of it. They're going to catch Ra's al Ghul. They're going strong. They're starting to work together as a team and figure out how to do that. And Rick Flag is starting to find his place, getting them in check. As they're going in, Batman, just thinking they've escaped, shows up to try and stop them. And they're like trying to desperately not die as Batman is trying to take them away and arrest them. And they're sort of striving to both stop Ra's al Ghul and stop Batman. So we're watching it, and it's a bit like a horror film because the guys that are bad guys are trying to be picked off by Batman. It's this very weird, tense situation because the guys that stand for nothing become the victims of Batman and Ra's al Ghul, and Batman becomes the bad guy because he's stopping them from stopping Ra's al Ghul. And so things kind of start to fall apart, and so this creates the problems where they kind of have that low moment in the plot. Perhaps several of them die somewhat because of what Batman did. And so you really feel Batman is a villain for trying to stop them. You really feel that Ra's al Ghul is a bad guy for trying to do this evil plot that he has, but at the same time, you look at what he's doing, and he's trying to stop Lex, who's creating monsters. He's trying to stop Amanda Waller, who's doing weird test stuff, and all of this is perhaps causing pollution. It's doing all sorts of bad stuff that he wants to stop the corruption that they're putting in the world. So you can understand where he's coming from and why he wants to stop this messed up, dark, cynical people that would turn on Superman in his lifetime. Then you go into the final act of the movie. And in this, the Suicide Squad finally come back together to stop Ra's. Batman figures out that Ra's is the worst evil in this situation, so he doesn't join up with them, but he sets out to also stop what Ra's is trying to do. And somewhere in this, there's a great scene between the two of them where Ra's al Ghul basically tells him, like, why are you trying to defend a government and a people that would turn to these monsters to try and save themselves? That they would use these people to do this. And you start to kind of put this idea out there that's establishing even more of the idea in Batman's head of, I need to do something better than this. Something that brings hope to people. Something that's for justice, not this, whatever it is. And so then in the end, they're victorious. Ra's al Ghul isn't captured, but he's stopped. He escapes into the background. And then the post-credit scene is Batman confronting Amanda Waller much more confrontationally about it. And the interaction is much more him being forceful with her about there's a better way than using these monsters. And through that, she turns files over, something along the same lines as what you see in the mid-credit sequence in the movie. So that's what I propose is a better movie than what we got, because it puts Batman's role in the movie very much as a villain, not because he's a villain, but because he isn't aware of all the pieces that are going on. And so he's just trying to stop bad guys as he sees them. And in doing so, he's almost killing, or perhaps does end up killing, by the force of his actions, the characters that we're rooting for, our protagonists in the film, which is a very interesting dynamic. And likewise, Ra's al Ghul, perhaps maybe he's not the right person, but someone that can functionally be in that same role, that their mission is to try and stop a people that are so corrupt that they would endorse someone like a Lex Luthor, or maybe the big plot twist is whoever the villain is, if it's Ra's al Ghul, they're trying to take down basically this big wing of the government that Amanda Waller is running, that's basically doing all sorts of tests, making dangerous weapons, doing very shady things as an effort to stop metahumans. And so they're trying to stop evil, but they're evil themselves. They're doing bad. And so then it's all kinds of conflict, and the only people that have no good intentions of any of it are our heroes, the Suicide Squad. That seems like a movie that has much better tension. And so it still has all of the fun and the dynamics of the people we did see in it, except that the villain is actually engaging and you care where they're coming from. You care where Amanda Waller's, they're conflicting ideologies in the film from everyone except our heroes. That's my proposal. What do you think about it? Am I crazy? Did I just propose a terrible movie that has gigantic holes in it? Tell me in the comments section. Tell me what you like. Propose ways to fix my idea. If you like this video, click that like button and click that subscribe button if you want to hear me rant and rave about other crazy stuff. I've got lots of crazy ideas I would like to share with the world. Thank you for listening.